when will Ferrari stop repeating its mistakes? Now, obviously, this has been in the press for about 3 weeks now, and we are a little late to the party, but doesn't make it any less irrelevant. I mean, the Ferrari leadership pushed out Mattia Binotto essentially, the man who's been with Ferrari from being a test engineer to being the team principal. And in your opinion, was that the right call?
No, I mean, firstly, as you said, Ferrari are simply making the same mistakes they have made over the last decade since 27, since the era of Michael Schumacher and Ross Brawn, and
Basically, since Luca Di Montezemolo left, sort of.
yeah, I mean, yeah, exactly. I mean, these things have been going on far too often, and I mean, we saw it during Fernando Alonso's era, and Sebastian Vettel's era as well. So it's it's the same mistake, but I think it was the wrong call because no, Mattia Binotto. Sorry. Yeah, Mattia Binotto himself said that 2022, like they were not ready. According to him, they were not ready to win the championship in 22. They were not looking to win the championship in 22, basically, and he was working towards a plan for 2023. So right, they had a strong car and they made mistakes and they lost the championship because of their own mistakes. But when your leader says that we want to win in 23 and not 22, there might be some thought process behind his him saying that, right? So I think maybe they took their mistakes too seriously, but they didn't take their leader too seriously. Is probably what I'm saying.
Yeah. So, what do you think would have been the right path ahead? Because what I feel is, instead of axing Mattia Binotto, essentially, what should have been done is, he should have been provided with more support, because not only was he leading the technical side of things, he was also leading the track operations and everything that was going on. There's usually two, three people managing that top tier,
Yeah,
from the top tier of leadership. That is what was missing. I think Matthew Minato just needed a little bit more support, doing, taking care of the team both at the factory and at the track. And I think that would have helped him make a step forward towards reducing the operation, what we call, the operational inefficiencies or the mistakes that Ferrari has made throughout the season, moving on to next year. But what do you think is going on? Why does every new Ferrari CEO think that they have the right idea of what needs to be done with the F1 team? Because all of the new Ferrari team principals have come after a change in leadership, and one of the
yeah.
things extensively when Matteo Binotto resigned was pushed out was the fact that Matteo was close with the previous CEO and he was backed up by the previous CEO, and it was a change in leadership that really put his position in jeopardy. So what are your thoughts about that?
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I, basically it's comes to some sort of politics, some sort of keeping being on the good side of people, I guess, because not everyone sees your vision and not everyone aligns with your vision. But at the same time, Ferrari, I mean, and you said that Mattia Binotto had a lot of work on him and he didn't have support for the basically the top job. But Ferrari did shake up their leadership structure when Mattia Binotto was appointed team principal. So I don't remember it exactly, but there was some sort of shake-up in that leadership structure, right? So give him more support and that. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know how the same things keep happening at Ferrari, and because it has been far too often that the not only the team principal but the leadership as a whole has changed at Ferrari, right? And it's a cycle now. And yeah, I mean, as Ferrari fans, people always say it's always next year because, but it's with always next year comes that the same mistakes will be repeated again. But yeah,
Yeah, it yeah, it's yeah, it's exactly like you said, right? And I mean, yes, Matteo Binotto did bring Ferrari back from literally being sixth in the championship over the
yep,
course of 2 years, and he's shown not extravagant progress or insane progress with the team. Expect from a team like Ferrari to be able to bounce back, and that's been great. And he's done a great job. Similar questions were raised, when Arriva Bene was axed, and Ferrari had been doing good. Yes, it was the operational inefficiencies that led to being him axed also. But
Yeah,
again,
exactly.
there's not a whole lot other than that going on there. But in my opinion, when I look at it, and when I look at what was happening 10 years before this, it just goes to show how important that trifecta of Ross Brawn, Michael Schumacher, and John Todd was.
Yeah.
And how they held the ship together and had the power to make the calls that were needed in order to team. And we didn't see that with Mattia. He didn't have the support of the CEO after the CEO got changed, and it didn't seem like the top leadership was there as closely working with Mattia as closely as maybe Michael Schumacher, John Todd, and Ross Brawn were working.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, those three 2007, was like till 2006 were unbeatable. And I mean, that was a dream team of sorts, like we had at Red Bull during the 2010s and at Mercedes during the late 2010s and at Mercedes during the late 2010s. But I think Ferrari, they need a fundamental change of philosophy. They Because like no one knows what's going on within that organization, be it the leadership, be it the team working on the ground level, be it a fundamental change in philosophy, a fundamental change in the organization is needed. Because then if that does not happen, it'll like the same things will be repeated. Whoever they appoint as team principal for next season will come under pressure because they are the Ferrari team principal. They will not be able to perform. They'll come second or third in the championship again for the next 2 years, and they'll get sacked again. So it doesn't make any sense to keep repeating that.
Yeah, I mean, like you said, essentially Ferrari has winded the clock back by 2 years all
Yeah,
over again, regardless of who takes up the reins. They're not going to win straight away just because they had a really good car at the start of this year,
yeah, absolutely.
which is not the case anymore. Now Mercedes is much closer to Ferrari than Ferrari was closer to
Red
Red
Bull.
Bull the year. So there you go. But here's a follow up question to this, obviously, right? Now, Fred Vasseur's name has been thrown around a lot in on social media and everywhere else as the successor to
Mattia.
Mattia Binotto, especially given apparently there are conspiracy theories that say Charles Leclerc's team basically
Yeah,
that manages him were also the reason behind were also another reason
Mattia
why
left.
Mattia
Yeah, yeah,
Binotto eventually left. And Charles has very close ties to Fred Vasseur, who he raced for quite a few years. So how do you see Fred Vasseur being? How does Fred Vasseur take Ferrari from being this team who comes very close to winning a championship to a championship winning team? Because from what I can see is, yes, Fred Vasseur has great success in the junior formulas, in identifying who the great drivers are of tomorrow in Formula One. But he's not really done a lot with Sauber in the last however many years that he's been with them. Sauber has been a lower midfield team through and through. And the only time we even thought that Sauber would make a step was the one year that Charles was driving that car. And that was it. That was it. So it's not like he's done a great job in, pushing that team to that next level to, bring it up to the midfield or the upper midfield teams like a McLaren or maybe an Alpine. And Sauber has been there. The last I can remember Sauber being up there was in the BMW days.
yeah,
And for the last 15 years or so, it's it's just been eighth, ninth, and so on.
yeah. When we thought about Sauber going up when Charles Leclerc joined, that's also when Alfa Romeo joined. So it was again, the parallels with a BMW, basically a factory team or a big sponsorship team as such. But yeah, as you said, Fred Vasseur has done the basics required at Sauber to beat their lower rivals, beat like compete with
Beat Williams and Haas pretty much
yeah
as much as
yeah
possible.
exactly. So compete with them, Williams, and beat Haas and all that. And yeah, we this year Sauber started really well because they had planned on working on the new car for for the rest of last season basically, and they also had a lot more testing time and winter but they started off really well. Like Bottas was right there fighting with the Mercedes. I remember at the start of the season there were memes about Bottas beating the Mercedes, right? And 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 Guan Yu also did pretty well, but somewhere around mid season they stopped scoring points. They stopped developing the car. I don't know what happened, but it just stopped. It stagnated. Everything stagnated at Sauber. So I don't see how Fred Vasseur can be a revolution. Get appointed, he might, because he has done enough at in motorsport, and he has done enough in Formula One to be a valid candidate as such, you know. But I don't see how he can be revolutionary in such a way.
But here's the other question also, right? That team principal. But here's the other question also, right? That team principal position is at Ferrari is a poison chalice.
Yeah,
Like it comes with an end date. It doesn't come
exactly,
with it.
exactly.
It starts off with an end date, and you might be able to peel that sticker off eventually. But it does come with that sticker on with the job. The same thing, about how he thought that Mattia Binotto lasted much longer than he would have anticipated, and he congratulated Mattia for that or something along those lines. But there was a comment like that, which again goes to show that it is very well known in the paddock that Ferrari will continue making these mistakes, and it's the threat of Ferrari winning a world championship is nullified, knowing the fact that they are going to mess it up eventually.
Yeah, maybe Ferrari just need another uh, rally car driver or rally car co-pilot to come in and revolutionize the way the sport as is, yeah, Ferrari is, I guess.
Sure, sure.